On this episode of Designer Notes, I keep saying it's Designer Notes, but I haven't posted Designer Notes on it. Maybe it's time to put Designer Notes on the beginning of these episodes. On this episode of Designer Notes, we're going to be mixing it up. As you can see, we're not in our usual kitchen. We're in somebody else's kitchen this time around, and we're going to be talking about Vicaria's next great chronograph. They actually sent us 2 models, and you're gonna have to see for yourself why it's a really good and beautiful chronograph. In our blueprint segment, we're going to be talking about the PRX that I bought ages ago. It's time to finally talk about it. It might just be less relevant than it is. And finally, in our viewer comments, we're going to be talking about trust issues and how trust issues is affecting the watch community the past few weeks. Here in Designer Notes, you know that I'm a watch pirate. I pirate stuff. I pirate watches. I pirate videos. And this time around, I'm pirating Cunucu Coffee Roasters' own shop. And this is where all the magic comes from. As you can see, they have their roaster there, and they have their bags. Our sponsor for this video is Cunucu Coffee Roasters. If it's not so obvious to you as of yet, if I have to spell it out to you, come on, then why are you in YouTube? But anyway, I think that's why you're in YouTube, because I have to spell it out to you. But anyway, Cunucu Coffee Roasters is one of the best, if not the best coffee, not just in Aruba, but in the whole of the universe. If you don't take my word for it, why not just fly to Aruba and buy one for yourself? Now, if you're already in Aruba, then what's preventing you from walking into their shop? Just what I just did just now. I didn't just walk here. I just invaded their privacy and I used their kitchen for no reason at all. And I'm going to keep on doing that until they give me free coffee for life, okay? So, if you want the very best coffee in Aruba, come and reserve your coffee now at Cunucu Coffee Roasters. But right now it's actually Saturday, it's too late, so you should be doing that on Wednesdays or even before Wednesdays. So tell the roasters that you want one of the 4 or 5 different flavors that they usually have every week. So you can wait until the next Saturday to get your coffee. That may sound absurd, but that's actually a good thing. It cultivates your patience, it makes you a better person, and now you have a better coffee by Saturday. So what are you waiting for? Buy Cunucu Coffee Roasters coffee, the best roasted coffee, not just in Aruba, but in the whole of the universe. Now, Viqueria has been one of the obscure watch brands that we've been reviewing in this channel, but hey, they've been doing some really good stuff back there in Italy, and this time around they sent us not just 1 but 2 chronographs to review. Are they any good? Well, spoiler alert, they kinda are. This video is brought to you by Viqueria. Being a 40-year-old man, I'd like to think that I've got it all pretty much figured out when it comes to my personal taste. I like my beer German, my wife singular/Asian, and my watches blue. You're free to call me a bandwagoner, but I could care less than a watch snob's tears. But then Viqueria sent 2 of their Levantes, and I must say they made me re-examine my life preferences. On my 6¼ inch wrist, this 41 by 46mm chrono has just enough manliness to it, but it won't beat my cuff like chum. It's still nearly 13mm thick, so I'm living off the edge of the plank here when it comes to wearability. This blue dialed racer is a real heartthrob, but then the white model stopped me right off my tracks. It may not seem much now from this angle, but later you'll find out why this white model made me discover something that's in me that I never knew was there. These 2 models is just one half of a fantastic collection that should put Viqueria on the map as one of the most beautiful microbrand chronographs available right now. The Levante is quite versatile. It rocks on the 5-link bracelet, but on this leather racing strap, this razor becomes worthy for coastal strolls. Even on a lighter colored NATO, this can still cross the finish line, but most would agree that this NATO belongs in the sea. But then the silver tone steps out to the starting line. This is just a taste of what this variant is capable of.
On this equally pleasing sailcloth strap from Artem, this Levante transforms into an elegant roadster ready to drive Clooney to the gala. This is where you'll notice that those blue elements on the dial really matches the blue textured strap. It made me rethink things, like what kind of excuses I could give Vicaria. Sorry, Vicaria, my dog ate the white one, so sadly it won't be coming back. Too unrealistic? Or maybe my wife liked it so much that she kept it. But then I remember the last company that tried to get anything back from her does not exist on the map anymore. So let's get back to enjoying this piece while it's here. The Seagull ST19 movement is excellent for its price point. The crown action is smooth and operation is pleasant. There's no date window to worry about, just plain old hours and minutes. The chronograph pushers are very responsive and crisp to activate. There's still a subtle springiness to it, but I'm comparing that against other high-end mechanical chronos, so that's a bit unfair for the Levante. I'm sure that anyone owning this will be happy to play around with this caliber while watching it in action from the display case back. There's a satisfaction in seeing all of those small gears turn with every pump of those pushers. Notice too that this is a swan neck build of the ST19, which is regulated within Vicaria's own atelier. It's a touch of artisanship in the part of the company. Now let's talk about these dials. I can't wait to dive into these small details. Those applied dials are amazing to look at with the radial finish inside delivering a slight contrast. It's like a totally different realm when viewed against the sunburst finish of this dial. It's an absolute light play wizard. Surely this will be my favorite, or so I thought. But then the Silvertone model changed my whole perception about white dialed watches. I always thought it's at the bottom of my list, but now I know that it doesn't have to be like that all the time. This glistening dial stuns this spoiled scruffy pirate's heart. As the light catches the surface, it emanates this fine powdery brilliance. And then there are those deep blue hands. This blue seemingly cured treatment is such a beautiful expression. It not just reflects this blue shimmer, but also passes it through its deep shadowy side. This is all framed with a matte blasted texture of the tachymeter bezel. It's the perfect frame that remarkably hides shadows while the rest of the polished surfaces revels in them. Case side, the lugs have this familiar Omega Speedmaster lyre shape. This leads to this curved end links and 5-part link bracelet. The sides are your standard affair of flat brush that's also used for the rest of the band. This bracelet has great articulation and it's equipped with a hidden butterfly clasp. It's not exactly seamless, but I would prefer this over a clasp enclosure for my chronos. I'm happy to report that the butterfly button actions are super responsive. Lastly, it's the Seagull mechanical chronograph. I'll be ironically honest here, pirates lie. So now I'm breaking character to tell you the truth. For those who want a mechanical chronograph under $500, there's practically no other option than Seagull. You'll love the decoration like that first budding crush in 3rd grade. But after a few breakups and experience with more sophisticated calibers, these chromed bridges just looks childish. But there's a lot of value in this caliber. It's affordable and certainly easier to service than other mechanical chronographs. But the ultimate value is, well, in the value of these chronos. The pre-order price is just £289 that opens up in September 16. That's what most automatic non-chronograph movements go for nowadays. I thought I knew myself enough that I'll choose a blue watch 99% of the time. But the Silvertone Levante proved me a fool for having a presumptuous view. But the Italians know a thing or two about making beautiful things. Things that challenge perceptions. Making seemingly reserved designs appear interesting in effortless fashion. Now let me look for more excuses to keep these here.
And that is the Levante from Viqueria. It's one of the more elegantly designed chronographs from this brand, and I think it's a smash hit once it hits the market. And they're offering 4 colors of this new collection, even though I don't know yet the price range they're going to be sold for, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to break the bank. Again, that's the Levante from Viqueria. Speaking of not breaking the bank, I did not break the bank to get the PRX Powermatic 80 version. I specifically went for the Tiffany Blue. That's what the kids are saying that it should be called, but I think it's the Ice Blue version. Yes, and it's still fairly hard to get. judging from the orders that we placed in Chivas. But did I really make the right decision in getting a Powermatic 80 PRX? While most of you are actually telling me that the Quartz PRX, even though it's dainty and thin, is still too big for my wrist. Well, that's what I'm going to try and justify and using our blueprint segment and why the PRX Powermatic 80 is still relevant, but this Ice Blue version might not be as relevant anymore.
This video is not brought to you by Tissot. Yeah, because I bought this with my cold hard florins. I will admit, I was taken by the hype and needed to see in person to understand that collective enthusiasm. But the biggest reason I got this Powermatic 80 PRX was because thousands of you didn't have the appreciation to subscribe to my channel and yet apparently have enough time to write a comment on how the Powermatic version is better than the Quartz model that I own. So, if I was going to buy the mechanical variant, I figured I should get something different amongst the sea of blacks and blues in the display. Gazing upon this icy pastel dial proved to be a costly decision as now I have two PRXs in my collection. Now, reason and caution thrown onto the wind, the other issue to tackle is the fact that I should be getting a smaller PRX because it also seems that even my Quartz model is still too big for my Little Mermaid wrist. But that's fine, as for a time, this was the hottest Tissot to get. It's a trendy color, it's relatively affordable, and it actually wears great. So here it is beside the Quartz PRX, and you can see that both have a distinct identity to them. Both could realistically occupy a collection as they are different enough aside from the undeniable integrated bracelet design. I was however expecting a significant difference in thickness, but that's really not the case. You could barely distinguish that the automatic model is thicker. So I could have gotten the automatic model in the first place rather than buy the Quartz variant. But I think I just like the sunburst dial more than the waffle texture. But then the strap situation. Just look at what Tissot has to offer. This dark blue strap may not work with other colors like what you see here. Give me a white strap please for these icy blue faces. This strap on the dark blue dial though just works seamlessly. When I bought the PRX, I knew I was buying the interchangeable strap to extend its wearability. And it worked. It proved to be the only PRX I needed for a long while. I imagined the same for this Powermatic version. This one is from Deluxe, which is not bad, but I wish Tissot offered their own original color to match this very light dial. This also shows how difficult it is to dress this PRX down even though it's such a fun color. By its own merit, the lighter color actually worked well with the waffle dial. It's something that I couldn't quite explain other than the fact that the texture doesn't seem to be that bold here than on the darker tone. That light play works to enhance the light tone, taking much of your attention. The bezel here is a little bit taller than the Quartz model, but the rest is practically the same. The hidden gem, of course, is the display case back that features a decently decorated rotor. The rest of the caliber is rather plain as expected within this price point. Like with the previous review, you're really buying a PRX for the case and bracelet. This remains the best value proposition you can find on any Swiss brand. And now for the dial. The dial details here are crisp and sharp. It's something that stands out a lot, especially when light touches it. The light play on this dial makes it a lot more appealing aside from its current popular color. The indexes and other elements pop out a bit more because of their polished texture, creating deep shadows over this bright light blue hue. I think it's a lot more appropriate here because it's more likely that this watch will be worn under the sun's summery rays. I went out and did the exact opposite of that and wore this at night. As much as I look like a try-hard Asian Elton John, it was still fun to get that attention. That's what all the hype is about. It's really about attracting attention, and this watch grabs it in spades. But if you're the kind that's not into that attention stuff, it's a great watch for vibrant and extremely casual occasions. Now, when will all those occasions come? I don't know about you, but we have it here plenty in Aruba. But what I do know is that I could hardly call this watch versatile. It looks good, but you can't wear it all the time. Heck, I need to buy a new pair of Jordans to make this work. So I guess it's not economical either in that sense. But Tissot played its cards well, and now they've got our money. thoroughly enticed by the hype.
No matter how much you cut it, the Tissot PRX Ice Blue version is really created to ride the trend of the Tiffany blue dial. Now that the trend is dying down, it still manages to stay relevant because of the ice blue color, that summery vibe that it's trying to express. However, be cautious, it's not going to fit all of your attires, but nevertheless, it's a blueprint for enticing customers to buy into the color. And now it's time for your viewer comments. Now, before we begin with the viewer comments, we would like to address a certain situation that's been happening in the past few weeks. It's about trust issues in the watch community. Now, the Timepiece Gentleman saga continues. I view it as it continues because many people would say this is the inevitable end to the Timepiece Gentleman, but I feel that this is just a continuation of its saga, and this might be the lowest point of this story. Now, to just summarize what's happening, the Timepiece Gentleman, Anthony Ferrer, whatever, is one of the more popular watch dealers in social media, not just in YouTube, but also Instagram and also everywhere else, in TikTok. And his stardom skyrocketed very, very quickly because of his extravagant flexing of his, not his wealth, but rather his lifestyle. And this lifestyle inevitably became his downfall, as in the past few weeks, he admitted that he's in debt to about $5 million because of this lifestyle. And he was honest about it, or at least that's what he's trying to tell everybody, that because of this flex lifestyle, he amounted to this large debt. And he's trying to come clean, and he's trying to rectify this situation by buying out, or like paying out rather, the rest of the people he owes watches with. Now, many are calling it Ponzi scheme, many are, and Anthony Ferrer himself is saying that it's not a Ponzi scheme because, and he's still in the process of actually still trying to buy these things out. But this goes to show a glaring issue with regards to watch trading and the trust issues that most people have. Now, I don't have a dog in the fight, so to speak. There are ample faults that you can point out to both the dealers and those who consign their watches to these dealers. And I myself have been selling watches, not in a consignment way, but a very small way rather. But I am also in fault with this kind of culture. But I would like to address how everyone can completely negate the heartbreak that all of this is causing. For one, we should never ever trust our feelings, our resources, our livelihood, our life to objects that could be corrupted, that could be destroyed, or could be stolen or lost. That has been a successful philosophy throughout history, when man can inevitably get anything corrupted. And once that thing has been corrupted, lost, or stolen, then your heart as well will be stolen and lost. There is a very smart proverb that where your treasure is, that is where your heart is. Now, why would we put our hearts in something that can be corrupted, can be destroyed, or stolen in the first place? So the first lesson for us to learn, however hard it may be, and I myself is included in that, is that we shouldn't put our trust in material things. And the less we do that, the better we are at life. Of course, you cannot completely remove such trust, especially with people and with these material things. At some point, you have to trust a material thing for you to even buy one. But keeping everything in perspective, regarding your life makes it easier for us to live with. Of course, heartbreaks and issues, they come and go. But if our hearts are never aligned with anything that is material, that can be burned, stolen, or corrupted, then we suffer less of the heartache. Now, another trust issue that resurfaced recently is that of Adam Levine and his watch collection. I wanted to address this because it's actually very, very common, and most people view it as something that's very, very egregious and very negative regarding the watch dealing community. But at the same time, it might not actually amount to anything. So here's the summary of that issue, is that Adam Levine went into Hodinkee and Ben Clymer, who is the founder of Hodinkee, and interviewed Adam Levine about his collection. And at the very, very onset of that video, some keen-eyed viewers saw that his collection is actually not a clean original collection pertaining to his Daytona. And even I, who was not so keen-eyed when I saw it, there's something weird about the Daytona. And Periscope pointed it out very, very specifically that the bezel is off, the pushers are off, and now it justifies my initial gut feeling. I never was able to voice it out. But this goes to show a lot of narratives now regarding that whole episode. One is that how could Adam Levine actually trust his dealer after such a situation? Was he taken advantage by this dealer because of his trust? Or maybe the dealer also was honest and he said, you know what, this is the piece, it's not completely original and whatnot, but Adam Levine didn't care because he likes the piece. That could be also possible. Now, another thing that most people are having issues with regarding trust as well is with Ben Clymer and Hodinkee, because why didn't Hodinkee stop them or stop Adam Levine or immediately tell Adam Levine, hey, maybe we should not talk about this piece because this is going to go bad against you, against your reputation as a watch person, because this is not an all original piece. Franken piece, to summarize, is a watch that's coupled up together from different references or from different parts or from parts that are not from the same exact reference or exact watch. So you see there, the term Franken watch already has some issues with it, because I may view it as not a Franken watch while some may still view it. But going back to Adam Levine, that's what evidently he has in his collection. And Ben Clymer, I don't know how the conversation went, but that's many of the theories and the assumptions are talking about that. Why did Ben Clymer still continue with this interview? Well, maybe it's really hard for someone like Ben Clymer to tell someone who's prominent like Adam Levine that, hey, you know, this watch is not really all original. Maybe that's hard. Maybe he doesn't want to burn those bridges. So he might have just went on with the interview as well. But then this creates the trust issues. How can Adam Levine trust his dealer again? How can we trust Hodinkee again to be an actual, truthful, journalistic site or company or institution? Well, to many people, it's already long gone because they have proven themselves to be not so honest with their articles, and at the same time, they're unbiased. That's not the case anymore. Or maybe it started out as that, but now it's not that the case. Maybe that's what people more attracted to back in the day, but now it's not so much. But to me, here's my take. It may not actually matter at all. If Adam Levine wanted to have that piece, no matter how original, all original, or less than original it may be. Maybe it's just a Franken watch. Maybe it's a fake watch, as many would even go as far as call it fake. Maybe it just didn't matter. Maybe Adam Levine doesn't care. And maybe that's the stance that we all should take with regards to our collection. We just collect whatever we want. But in the watch collecting community, there's this overlying theme of what collection should be. Of course, many will contend that many collectors have the same different tastes, and the upper echelons are this is like the epitome of a watch collection. Many would even contend that. But collecting really has no proper shape or form for us to conform in. If you want to collect Franken watches, go ahead. If you have a Franken watch in your collection while the rest is original, then go ahead. Nothing should prevent you from collecting. And maybe Adam Levine is just happy with what he has. Yes, he has all of the money, but that doesn't justify us thinking that his collection should be this or that, or he should be buying this or that. But Theo and Harris also pointed out a lot of good things. You should watch them. And they pointed out that Adam Levine isn't really that much that as knowledgeable compared to other watch collectors, say like John Mayer, when he pointed out that his first watch was the stainless steel date or date just. And there, of course, many Rolex enthusiasts or many watch fans know that there's no such thing. There's only probably just one existing reference of a steel Datejust or date, and the rest of the mass-produced dates are white gold. So if he was saying that, he should have been like started or leading off with, hey, I have one of the rarest dates out there. But obviously he didn't. He might have, more likely, he might have just mentioned that because he thought it was a stainless steel, but actually it's white gold. But that proves the point that anyone could actually talk about anything and they may not know everything about what they're talking about. That includes me, of course. But that's fine. It's not an issue. We don't need to break our trust with people that we deal with. But of course, it's wrong if they broke that trust intentionally. But collect what you want. Don't rely on other people to tell you what your collection should be. Trust me. If there's someone that you should trust, it's me. Okay? Trust me, it will make your life easier. It will make your perspective of watches a lot better because they're just stuff that gets burned, gets criticized, gets cobbled up, Franken and all, and sometimes stolen. At the end of the day, these are just watches. It's the humanity of it all that makes it worthwhile. That's a long-winded discussion there, but it's not really a discussion at all. It's really just me narrating my 2 cents about it. No script, no, just off the cuff. But nevertheless, that's what I wanted to say about that. Now, let's talk about some of your comments, and let's begin with 5 days ago. Jimmy Kincaid says, I'm buying shares with Horology Story. This company's gotta shoot to the moon. Yes, you should, but unfortunately, we're not selling shares yet. Melvin Ramirez says, my wife told me that she's going to buy me one luxury watch in order for me to stop buying watches for good. Lucky me. Thanks for another great content. Yes, and that's actually a good thing, Melvin, because once they do that, that actually happened to me personally as well. My watch, the first luxury watch, I view it as a luxury watch. My first luxury watch that I ever received was from my wife when she bought me a Bolido Museum black one because I like black stuff. And ever since then, I've been telling everybody that I got into watch collecting because of my wife. So all of this is to be blamed to my wife. And you can do the same. Once she does that, you can now blame your wife for all of the heartbreak and the financial ruin that watch collecting has brought you. That's all because of your wife, right? So now you have a much more solid excuse, and I think that's a good thing. My name is DR Pat. He says, the Frogman is now on discount. Never fall for the hype. Yes. So some G-Shocks, they maintain their value because they're limited editions, but this particular Frogman did not. So it's rather good to wait sometimes, like most of the times, especially in the G-Shock scene. It's better to actually wait to get that special limited edition version that you wanted. And like most things, it will be offered on a discount. You just need to be eagle-eyed. So it's not like the gray market right now. It's not like with Rolexes and other luxury watches. These limited edition G-Shocks oftentimes can be found on a discount if you're just patient enough to wait. And yes, he is correct. You should not buy into the hype. And I've done so sometimes, you know, but then I think I'm older enough to realize that that's something that I should not ride, you know. So that's a very good advice there. Never fall for the hype. Watch for discounts, even for these limited edition G-Shocks. Green Rick says, true, better than wearing my Omega Seamaster, draws less attention. He's talking about the GMWB 5000 GBA. Yes, it does indeed draw less attention than an Omega Seamaster. The Omega Seamaster right now is really creeping in to the upper echelons of public perception because of course, James Bond and how he used this very popular Seamaster model. And not just Daniel Craig, mind you, even the Pierce Brosnan, that's where it all started. And that is like the power of the Seamaster design and brand. People, even outside of the watch fandom, is starting to notice or starting to know what a Seamaster really is. And that is a counterpoint when you're wearing TVA. A TVA just looks like a regular G-Shock. It's still stealth wealth, as we watch fans may call it. It's unassuming. And if you're that kind of person who doesn't want to be as showy or as flexy as your Seamaster or any luxury watch owner would be, then maybe this G-Shock would be the one for you. Of course, it's still very expensive if you're one in that camp, because normally a person who's leaning into that unassuming camp also are a little bit more budget minded, and I recognize that over $1,000 for a G-Shock is already like a tough sell for many. But this one, I'm still very happy at owning it. I regularly still wear it. I've yet to still replace its battery. Of course, it's a solar powered. Yes, you still need to replace its battery, but nevertheless, this G-Shock is still keeping time and keeping a very good position in my watch collection. JC Espinosa 4762 says, yung Orient Kamasu po ba o Meiko maganda din? Well, JC, I think I know this person. I think this is my cousin-in-law, something like that. I don't know if that's him, but maybe that is. So let's shift into Tagalog mode here. Yes, kung papipiliin mo ko yung Kamasu or yung Meiko, I would rather go dun sa Kamasu. Yung Kamasu is a little bit more my style, you know. Yung Meiko, I don't like the Meiko's bezel. Yung bezel niya, yung mga screw on top of it, or those little indentations, it's not for me. And I don't know. I mean, yung style kasi ng Meiko, I find na if I'm going with a Mako. I would rather like just spend a little bit more and go get an SKX or maybe a Pro Master from Citizen. There's yung meron kasi sa case ng Mako na hindi ko gusto. Maybe yung lugs is a little off to me. Pero now, here's the thing. I actually promoted one of these videos, yung video ni Half Past Vlog, na pinakita niya yung dial ng bagong Mako 40. There's an issue doon sa dial na yun. Hindi ko alam kung paano nangyari yun na nakalusot sa lahat ng kanilang promotional videos, sa lahat ng kanilang promotional images. Pati yung ibang mga YouTubers gaya ni Brave Beater, pinakita niya yung bagong Mako 40. Hindi niya nakita na merong issue sa 26 minute. Kung titingnan mo yung video, nakita to ni Half Past Vlog. And you should subscribe to that too. Yung 26 minute ay napakalapit dun sa 25 mark. Dun sa, I think, 25 index. I don't know how that happened, but for sure, yung person na nag-design mo, he's not gonna have his job anymore after that. I don't know how that happened, pero lahat ng Mako 40, merong issue na yun. Ayun, ito pa, kung bibili ka ng ganun, there's a possibility na it could be a future collectible. But that's a very, very unlikely possibility na maging collectible. But it's kind of, it's kind of a weird and rare occurrence na this kind of issues get into mass production. So, yun. Well, hindi yun maganda actually kung titingnan mo. Kung pag-uusapan natin, yung ganda. Pero, you might still want to get it just to have like that weird thing. May mga fans or may mga collectors na gano'n. But, in essence, if you ask me, maganda ba yung Orient? Orient makes some really good watches. Pero kasi ang style ko, kung gusto mo bumili ng Orient, I would rather go with a Bambino. Bambino is like such a class. That's what I want. But between the Kamasu or the Mako, I would go with the Kamasu. But if you want me to buy an Orient, Bambino is the way to go. Wilson CQB1911 says, "This man knows what's up because a luxury watch is absolutely absurd and I'm embarrassed to tell anyone what my Submariner cost me, especially since I bought it at the gray market prices." I've felt that actually at times, to be honest. I'm embarrassed to tell regular folks, not watch people, how much my Submariner costs. I didn't want to say it because here's the thing: the moment that you say how much your Submariner costs, you can come off as either flexing, which is something that I don't want to do. Maybe Wilson doesn't want to do either. And at the same time, it takes into account the people that we're actually talking to, and you may know these people, and these people would rather buy something else more practical for that price. Maybe say a car, a second-hand car, for that matter. And when you start to think about that, then you might as well not just say it. That's where the embarrassment settles in. But I mean, that's fine. That's okay. That's part of what you get into when you're buying these watches. So you just have to be prepared, and you might as well have like a pre-rehearsed comment or answer about that, because that's just how it is. You cannot change that, and that's not bad. You have to be embarrassed. Men, please, you have to know this. You have to know how to deal with embarrassment. Embarrassment is a good thing. You need to be embarrassed sometimes. That keeps your mind in a reasonable state. Because if you're not embarrassed at all, then there's something going on that's wrong with you. And I think that's a bigger issue than buying a watch that embarrasses you. Embarrassment is a good thing. You need to be able to deal with that in a mature way. It's what makes you a human being. It keeps you relatively logical in your thinking ability. Because hey, if you're not embarrassed to buy this or to do that, or to do this or to do that, then you'll just go further and further to the extreme of what you can do or not be embarrassed with it. And who knows what you'll be able to be willing to do once you go to that point. Okay, so when I released that Artem Strap video, many of you commented how Artem Straps really is a good brand. You've also attested to buying one, owning one, and how it really stands up to all of the abuse. Of course, the epitome of abuse is putting it in the wrist of my wife, and you all could relate to that. I love that. But with regards to Artem Strap, I'm really happy, to be honest, with the brand and with their products. I'm not just because we're just sponsored, but I've really been using Artem Straps for years now, and they really hold up, and they're really durable straps, and they actually look good on my watches and in your watches too, in general. But here are some comments about that. Steve Moreno 6241 says, I may get these for my Omega Diver 300M watches. I was planning on getting the Omega rubber straps, but these are compelling options for the quality and the price. Yes, the price and the quality is very compelling, and as long as you can get past the has to be original component part of fandom, then Artem Strap is a compelling alternative to an actual Omega Seamaster strap. Let's keep in mind, these Seamaster straps can range up to twice or even more of an actual Artem strap. And to some people, that's okay. That's not big enough of a price discount. But to many, it is an alternative because of the quality that they show. And I have worn some Omega Seamaster straps, and they're not really, I honestly, they're not really that much of a great quality to warrant its price. If you ask me, I mean, like, that's what I feel. And I would rather go with an Artem strap instead. And you know what? If I scratch it, or like if I like tear it in a way which is kind of impossible, it's kind of hard for me with how I work with my watches. It's less of a heartache compared to an actual original Omega Seamaster strap. But that's me. No. Jimmy Kincaid again gets in a comment. Get your wife a G-Shock. Well, newsflash, she actually has G-Shock, and it's also gone through fair abuse. I'll probably show that in a future video because that deserves a video on its own. But my wife's reputation of having an abusive and destructive wrist still holds up even to G-Shocks. So stay tuned for that video. How am I going to pronounce this? Much Tabasha 3667 says, this watch was popular over 2 decades ago for being able to unlock cars. Okay, I didn't know that you're able to unlock cars using the CMD40. I don't know how I'm going to be able to test that, but that is fascinating. And of course, another viewer commented, yeah, they've been using this as a, what you call this? Where's that viewer? Where's that viewer? Let me show that comment there. I had, it was a book of millions. He said, I had this and I was turning off neighbors' TVs. Such a great time. Thanks again from Japan for giving the best to humanity. Yes, this Casio seems to have some very fond, nostalgic prank memories from many people. And I could see that because if you know the model of the TV and you know the code that you could input in your CMD40, you could literally control that TV, at least to turn it on and off. That's the first thing. But the rest is kind of hard to do because you have to get the remote of the TV to be able to use some of its buttons. But turning it on and off is just fun times already. I could see the many different pranks that you could come up with, and that's the beauty of these gadgets back in the time in Japan. And it's like it's actually making me sad now to see that some of these Japanese brands are not as good anymore when it comes to their ingenuity and the quality and the durability of their devices. But at least these Casios, they remind us of an age-old time when anything Japanese made is just awesome. Mario G 7213 says, well, the plural of man is in fact men, but given that the glycine airman is a proper noun given to a watch, it would make sense to use the plural airmans because we're not referencing men here. Well, there you go. So if my word wasn't enough for you watch pirates out there, then listen to Mario G 7213 as he uses his noggin to actually reason that airmans, or the glycine airmans, is actually the proper language to speak of. Okay, Melvin Ramirez gets another comment in. Did I just see a cat walking in the background? Well, Melvin Ramirez, you're banned from the show for doubting that I have a cat in our home. I would rather have our house burned down than to own a cat. Seriously. What you saw there is actually my wife dressed as our dog, mopping the floor. Okay? Trust me. That's the truth. And finally, Mr. Zilos. Yeah. I found that in my travels through this thing called life that people don't like being told that they're wrong. Yes, I agree with Mr. Zilos that people, many people, including me, don't want to be told that they're wrong. But that's why I tell you these things. Because somebody has to tell you that you're wrong. Yes, you're wrong. See you next show. Maybe in the next show you'll be right. Anyway, in this show, we're going to talk about Viqueria and the next chronograph that they're Speaking of, what am I speaking of? No, that's not. Don't worry, you can like be as noisy as you can. It's not an issue. Don't worry, you don't have to like. It's going to be isolated too. I'm going to have like some noise reduction stuff. Like, no customers yet.
No customers. I'll be here. I'll come back later.
Okay.
All right. Let me just.
We'll try and not burn the place down.
Nah, it's safe. I know it's safe in here.